All right, I'm going to walk you all through some of the steps for this Descent from the Cross assignment to show you the general strategy for how to approach this and the tools you might need. I'm going to link to some more tutorials for each of the tools that I'm pointing out. And that way I can kind of move through it really quickly and give you some options for going into more detail if you need some more guidance. I'm also going to just show you I think, some different ways of approaching this, and then you all can each decide your own strategy for building it up. But generally, you want to conceive of this as a process of layers, similar to the assignment you did where you converted your grayscale collage into a digital version of itself. So adding shapes that become layers, letting that accrue until you have it in the way you like, and then exporting that as a JPEG. I'm also going to show you right now, you can add a layer without creating a shape by going to the bottom right corner on that plus sign, create a new layer, and always remember that you have to have the right layer selected for what you're doing. So just as you move on through this, be aware of which layer is selected. So the tools that I would recommend you becoming familiar with are up here. So we have the rectangular marquee tool, and if you click and hold that, you can see different versions of that. So these are all marquee tools. The lasso tool, and there's different versions of that too. The magic wand tool, the default selection might here be the object selection tool, but the object selection tool, quick selection tool, and magic wand tool are all kind of interrelated. And these three tools here are used to make selections. And this is an important distinction. Selections up here, and then down here we have this shape tool. I mean, it's called the rectangle tool, but it depends on which one of these you select. These make shapes. So there's a distinction between selections and shapes. And then there's other ways. So the pen tool, as you all used before, we can make a shape or a path. If we make a path, it can become a selection or a shape or a mask. Don't worry about masks right now. So what's the distinction between a shape and a selection, let's say? So if I make this rectangle tool, click and drag it, it'll make a rectangle. If I let go, it is going to make a shape. My fill was not selected, so my fill has to be turned on. That is the color of my foreground color here, and it adds a new layer. If let me toggle this off. If I use the rectangular marquee tool and make a rectangle, it makes a selection. And anytime you have a dotted line like this that is vibrating like that, that means you have a selection in use. This comes in handy in different ways, so I'll show you one quick way. If I wanted to paint this area, my brush tool, this color, again, I have to rasterize the whole image first. Oh, here we go. See, I was on my wrong shape. So on my background layer, with this selection made and with my brush tool, I can paint in this color on that background, but whenever I go outside of that, the selection will stop it. So a selection controls what you do to an image or to a layer. Now, I don't actually want to do this. I would recommend making a copy of your layer so you're not painting on your background layer. But just to show you all, a selection controls what you do with the tool. I did Command Z to undo that. I can also do Command D to deselect, so to undo a selection. So, for instance, I can also, we'll do this later, I can also do Command C and Command V, and now I have a new layer that's just that selection. So the selection was just a way to select just that part of it and copy and paste that one part of it. So that won't come into play for this assignment, but just to show you. Okay, so I'll delete this. Your brush tool I just showed you. If you're on the brush, the color selector here will have the whatever color is selected here will be the color of your brush. You can change the size up here and the hardness. So it can be a soft edge or a hard edge. I didn't make that much harder. There we go. And again, I'm doing this totally wrong. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to duplicate my layer so that as I'm doing this, my original layer is untouched. I'm also going to, I'll come back to that. And then your paint bucket tool, you all know how to use. So I'll get rid of this